What's up, Kingdom Builders? Today we've got an exclusive in-person interview with the one and only Roy Tosh, right here on Kingdom Builder TV. We're diving deep into his brand new single, Let It Be, his journey as an artist, and some behind-the-scenes stories you don't want to miss. Stay locked in. This is one interview you don't want to skip. Kingdom Builder TV starts right now.
Oh, let it be me.
Lord, let it be me. Let me see other people like you see me. Holy Spirit activated, make it easy. Send me to the prisoners, I know that's why you free me. Put me out into the mud till I'm knee deep. Some people be treating God like a genie. Just know I'm out here on a mission if you meet me. If the devil in my way, I hit him with the beat. My God, a 3-peat. Holy Spirit, Father, Son, got me clean. He a neat freak. Open up my Bible, he gave me the cheat sheet.
What's up, Kingdom Builders? I'm Mike Laxton, and today I have a very special guest. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for over 10 years, and someone I believe that has a great blend of deep faith and undeniable energy in his tracks. From his days as 737 to now Roy Tosh, he's got a new release coming out this Friday, the 28th, Let It Be, featuring V-Rose.
Hey.
It's good to have you.
Hey, it's good to be here. What a wonderful intro. Give it up for Mike. I know we don't have an audience in here.
Round of applause, right?
This is my guy right here, bro. We go way back. So yeah, looking forward to this.
We go way back. That I mentioned 737. You haven't had that name for a long time.
Why you got to bring that up? Let's just bury that. Let's let that die.
You know, it's about you're trying to coast, right? Like the plane, right?
No. That's why we had to switch it up.
So let's go back a little bit because your audience, just to get them to know who you are a little bit. Tell us about that transition, why the name change, and how does that change you being as an artist you are today?
Yeah, so it wasn't about a plane. It was about a Bible verse, John 7:37. Terrible idea for all you youngins. Branding matters. My heart was just to reach people. I had a very ministry, heartfelt mind, and just wanted to tell people about Jesus, right? And so early on in my career, I knew nothing about branding. I knew nothing about the business side until I ran into Benja, which is going back a little bit in the CHH days. But so I had to learn about the whole business world. I was like all ministry. Mm-hmm. So God was just opening up all these doors. Like I remember I would do like 50 concerts in a year. I would do school assemblies, all that. And it was just to reach just one more with the love of Christ. And that's kind of where the whole John 7:37 kicked in. It was like Jesus gives an invitation there, right? So that's the same invitation I wanted to give to anyone wherever I was is, hey, you have to meet this Jesus. Like he's changed my life. He's real. He's not a distant God. He truly cares about me and every other individual listening to this. And so when I ran into Benja, he was like, well, he was very blunt about my name. He was like, what is 737? This ain't going to work. It's crazy. This is taking me back, bro. I told y'all, Mike and I go way back. I'm having flashbacks here. So FlavorFest in Tampa, Andy Mineo was the headliner.
Okay.
And Social Club, now it was Social Club Misfits. Yeah, so back in the day, it was just Social Club until they had to rebrand. And anyways, we were all at dinner. Andre the Giant was Andy's DJ. Mm-hmm. I think that was his name.
I think so, something like that. It was like DJ Andre.
Guy. Yeah, I know DJ Andre. They called him Andre the Giant.
Yep.
Maybe that was
I know you're talking about. Yep.
Big dude. So so we're all out to dinner. This is at like 2:00 in the morning. Before I had kids, I could actually stay up that late. Now and go to bed at like 10. I'm a grown man now. But anyways, out of nowhere, they said that in branding, you have to have something that's unique to who you are, but also unique to the branding world. So if I Google your name, if I Google 737, airplanes come up just like you said, right? So Roy is my middle name. And then Tosh is the last part of my last name. So Roy Tosh together is very brandable. It's a brand now. Yep. And that's what they were big on. And now I understand. I'm thankful for that because in order to maximize your reach, you must learn the business side of music. Yep. And I was able to reach masses of people more by doing small shifts like that and understanding and incorporating just wisdom from the older generation, stuff I didn't know. But anyway, so make a long story short, they were at one point at the dinner that night, 2 a.m., right? Late. I'm tired. I'm like, we got to drive back too. Andy, the Giant Social Club, they were like, Roy Tosh. And they were clapping. And I was like, it was like an out of body experience. I was like, what is happening right now? Like Andy Mineo, they're helping rebrand my name. It was such a cool experience. So literally, yeah, we drove home that night and that was it. I released a mixtape and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, that was what, 12, 13 years ago now, probably?
A long time ago,
it's been a while. So, you mentioned FlavorFest. I know you and I have had many days at Taco Bus there. That's as a lot of artists did while we were at FlavorFest. But
yes, sir.
Going to that event, which is probably one of the pinnacle Christian hip hop events that they have around the country. How was that particular experience? I mean, obviously you had the story of the rebranding there, but just in general with the networking involved and just the sessions they have there, how has that shaped your journey and that relationship you've built in the Christian hip hop space?
Huge, man. So I'm from the Midwest. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and the culture there is not really up to par with like the whole Christian hip hop scene, right? Even a lot of churches were very standoffish when it came to hip hop. So I moved to actually Lakeland for a year before I moved to Orlando area. And I found out about Crossover Church. So I would go. That's actually how I met Benjai as well. And he was one of the featured artists coming in and I linked up with him. Cool dude. Like next thing I know, I'm at Benjai's house a week later. Nice. And so I was like 45 minutes away from the church. So I would go over there all the time because it's something so beautiful that if you haven't gone to like an actual Sunday service, go. If you live in Tampa, it's an urban centered church but it doesn't feel forced at all. Like the time I went, I remember there was a whole choir and they were genuinely like worshiping God. The presence of God was so strong. And then all of a sudden, someone steps down from that choir and spits 16 bars humbly, just murders the mic, and then walks back up and starts singing. And I'm like, what? Like, what just happened, bro? Like, that was fire. But that's normal. Like, that's normal to the culture there. And so they were speaking my language. I was raised on hip hop and pop music. Like, I love hip hop and I love the culture of it. So it was really refreshing to me coming from the Midwest. I link up with Pastor Tommy. I'm submitting my music to go to all the FlavorFest and, events. And it's cool because you have these artists that you may like look at from a distance, right? And it's cool because now you get to really be in like small teaching arenas with them and like get to ask them questions and it kind of personalizes them, right? It's no longer an image like, oh my gosh, these are celebrities. Like you actually get to meet them and they're just people just like us, right? And shout out to Pastor Tommy. I love that guy. He was what's the word? He bridged so many gaps for me. He went above and beyond, and I wasn't even going to church there at Crossover. It's just a reflection of his heart. I was going to church at Lakeland at the time. He genuinely cares about people, and he literally connected me with so many people. He connected me with FCA back in the day, so I got to do events off that. I'll never forget that, man. That man's heart is gold. And it's no wonder God has blessed Crossover Church so much and FlavorFest, and now they have like multiple events. But yeah, it's huge for our scene, and again, had such an influence. So yeah, that was a long answer.
They've even expanded. They have a church in Atlanta now, and I think they're getting another one, if I remember correctly.
Right, Scott Free's
up there.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing what they're doing over there and giving the light to all the Christian hip hop artists through that platform and just all the. I mean, if you want to talk about pioneers in that industry, I think Pastor Tommy definitely is one of them for sure. And he's a rapper himself, Urban D. So he does his own thing too. But we're here to talk about your new single, Let It Be with V Rose. But before we get into that, we'll talk a little bit more about that particular single. As far as your style, again, hip hop has Christian hip hop or hip hop in general has lots of different styles, East Coast, West Coast, even regional, other regions as well. How would you compare your style, and as well as what other artists, secular or even Christian, would you compare yourself to?
Whew.
Or have you been compared to?
Yeah, I'm like trying to think. So my style is definitely a blend of hip hop and pop.
Okay.
And it's been a journey to find that. I think I had a song called Dream On, because I've done everything from rap on just full blown trap beats to like pop type music, right? So I think finding your lane as an artist, I think comes from knowing who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, but then finding your lane as an artist is a whole art. Like it takes time, it takes failing, it takes getting down, takes getting knocked down, and you got to get back up and go back to the drawing board. Maybe a song you thought was going to pop off doesn't. And so you're like, what the heck, God? Like, what's going on? So when I had my song Dream On, Paulo Clayton was on the hook, and it was like this, and Daraj was on it. And it was a merge between hip hop and pop, and it felt very natural to me. I wasn't raised in the hood or anything. Not that you can't do trap music or something if you're not, but blends of pop and hip hop felt very organic and natural to me. And so when I had that song, that thing popped off on radio. Like over 50 radio stations added it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like I didn't feel forced to even make this song. Like I wasn't trying to make that happen. Like God just kind of did it. And after that, I did Stronger with V Rose. That hit the Billboard charts. Again, blends of hip hop and pop.
I mean, I think that just speaks to the talent you have as well. Very talented artist. And I mean, not just hip hop. You work into, as you said, the pop stuff. And the song that you have out now, Let It Be, that's coming out here on February 28th with V Rose. Obviously, you've done the song with her before with Stronger, which took a listen to that the other day, and it just brought back some memories because that came out a while back. What made her the perfect fit for this song, and kind of, how did that particular collaboration, besides having worked with her in the past, how did that come about?
For sure. So shout out to V. She's just a wonderful woman and loves Jesus. Shot music videos with her. I've been on tour with her out on the West Coast back in the day. I think that's going back to 2015. So like, yeah, this is going back a little bit, almost a decade. Crazy. I'm at a stage in my life where I got, my people. Like I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not chasing, the latest, greatest name. I'm like, it just made sense to run it back with her. It had been a while to do a song, and we're like, I have this song and he's a female on a hook. Quentin actually sang the original hook, and he killed it. But Wes was like, yo, I think we need to get a female. And I was like, what about V? Why don't we run it back with V, right? And so it's going back to the concept, if it's not broke, why fix it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like just keep. Her voice is just incredible. And I think the diversity of the beauty of having a female and a male voice on one record, but then also us being like, she can do hip hop and pop as well, just like me. And she sent her vocals, and I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be the lead single now. It's like, and this ended up being the title track to my album, which is going to drop. We'll just tell people here.
Yeah, well, I guess let's break some news.
Come on, Mike, let's get it.
Let's do it.
So I am releasing a full LP, 10-track LP this year. We don't have any hard dates, but around August, we'll say around there. And the album will be called Let It Be. So this is kind of like the title track single of it. And it's just a reflection of where I'm at in life too. Like, let it be. I'm at a place of peace. The chase is over for me. I just want to be faithful to what God has asked me to do, and who He's called me to be, and being a husband, a dad, but also an artist. I'm trying to still reach the world with the gospel. So this song is very gospel focused. The gospel message is all throughout this song, and it's an encouragement for believers to go out and reach the least of these, no matter your sphere of influence. You don't have to have a microphone, people. You can be in the workforce. You can be a nurse. Whatever God has called you to do, you can reach people right where you're at and reach the least of these and reach just one more. And that's what the song focuses on. So, yeah.
No, I know it has a bold mission. Keep the main things main. As for the rest, look to Jesus and let it be. So
exactly,
kind of going at that. And
yep.
Is there any particular personal experience? You know, you mentioned being just a dad, just your whole journey here in the industry. Any particular personal experience that connects with that theme, as far as a moment where you felt God was calling you somewhere unexpected?
Man, there's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I think of even starting out. So all I knew pre-Jesus was basketball. And I was a typical sports junkie. Like, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. So basketball is like glorified there, bro. Home of Larry Bird. Like, Indiana basketball is serious. So I got all these awards my senior year in high school. My name was in the paper all the time, which went straight to my head. And then I have this encounter with Jesus where a pastor from Detroit introduces me to Jesus, and my whole world was flipped upside down. And I felt like the worst of sinners. And God still uses me to this day. Like, he's literally sent me all across the world. I've opened for all my favorite artists, had #1 singles. Like, I'm saying none of this to boast. I'm saying, hey, whatever God calls you to, he's faithful to. And he's faithful to the very end. And he's the one that causes fruitfulness in us first and then outwardly to the world. So I never in a million years thought that I would be doing Christian hip hop and pop music. Like, that was not in the plans. I thought I would go on to play like overseas basketball. And, when God gets a hold of my life, for me, the control was like, nope, I'm done. I surrender. Right. Which if you look at John 3:16, the word believe in that verse, everyone knows the verse, but the word believe is all about surrender. It's about surrendering to the person of Jesus and letting go. In other words, he's in the driver's seat. We're kind of in the back seat, right? So yeah, there's such a place of freedom. Jesus said in order to find life, we must lose ours. And that's what he's talking about. When we let go of the control that's so easy to us and let God be first place in our life and say, not, even as Jesus said, right, not my will be done, but your will be done. Then he reveals the plans that he foreordained for us, right? He's literally, he has good plans for us. So yeah, he started to reveal, this gift of music, and I love songwriting. Like, it was just natural. I gave my life to Christ, and all of a sudden music is pouring out of me. And I'm like, I still remember talking to my parents 2 years. I was on a full ride scholarship to play college basketball. And at the end of the 2 years, I could have gone on to play or gone into ministry. And I had sought counsel, like everything the Bible teaches, like I was literally doing. I was fully submitted to God. I'm like, what is your will? And I really felt like I was called to go into full-time ministry. And I still remember having the conversations with my parents at the time, and they were like, oh, full-time rapper? I don't know about this. But man, like, that's the beauty of it. Like, God had plans for me, and he's been faithful to this day with the plans that he had. So yeah, hopefully that answers.
No, that definitely answers. Some of our purpose here, just with Kingdom Builders, that we want to know the stories, because that's going to reach others and be like, hey, if you're an aspiring artist or things like that, this is, let God lead the way.
Yeah,
he's going to make that happen if he wants to make it happen, and he's going to direct your steps and create that path for you. Going back into the production aspect of the track, I know you worked with Wes Ryder and Quentin Koblenz for that. How did that come about, and that creative process? Tell us a little bit about that.
Man, so I've been working with Wes Ryder since I think 2017-ish. Actually, we co-wrote Stronger. So that was the first album. Above the Water was the first album that I started working with Wes. And Wes is one of those guys, like, I remember our first meeting with Wes. I drove to Tampa and we literally talked about Jesus for like an hour. Like, we didn't talk about anything else. And I'm like, I love this guy. That is not the norm in this industry, as you know, not with everyone at least.
Right.
A lot of times it's like, hey, business first, then we'll talk about Jesus. And Wes, like, genuinely loves God. And I love that. That's my heart. Like, that's the reason why I got into music. And so I met Wes through that. And then we started working out of a friendship, which I think there's something beautiful about that. So Wes gets introduced to Quentin. Wes pulls Quentin in. And I'll tell a funny story here. So Quentin is like, I mean, talking about white people, like, I'm sorry, this man did not look like a producer. I'm white, so I can say that. Like, I totally judged him. Like, the first time we had a Zoom meeting, I was in here in my studio. I'm like, I'm looking at this guy, and I trust Wes, but I'm like, who the heck is this dude? Like, what are we doing? And obviously, there's big money behind paying to produce these records and all this stuff. So I'm like, Wes, who'd you bring in? All of a sudden, Quentin starts playing on these keys. And I'm like, oh my good
Mind
Lord.
blown.
This guy is ridiculous. So anyways, that's no shade to Quentin. Quentin is also one of my best friends today. Wes and Quentin are both friends. And we've hung out, we shot videos together. Like, they're two people, if they lived within 30 minutes, we would hang out all the time. I genuinely love them, and they're my brothers. And by the grace of God, we've made a lot of music since 2018, 19. And the music has impacted millions of lives. To this day, I'll like share some comments where a song we wrote maybe touches someone. Like When I'm Gone is a song that's had a lot of impact that Wes and I worked on, that's touched a lot of people going through losses, for example. Close is another song we worked on. Like, there's so many records that have had pivotal influence. And so I'll try to encourage them whenever I get feedback or something like that. But yeah, just friends, man. I love them. But obviously they've worked with, Wes manages KB. Like, I mean, they're up there. They're winning Dove Award. I've never won a Dove. Like, they're like winning Grammys. Like, I went into, Wes also does sync licensing. So he'll pull me in for projects when he's working on music for TV and film as well. And so, yeah, you walk into this guy's home and there's just Grammys and Doves just sitting there. And I'm like, oh, slight flex. Flex.
Just a little bit.
But I love this about Wes is that there's no ego. None. Like, he cares about all that. I don't want to say that, but like, it hasn't touched his heart. And that's what I love about Wes and Quentin. Both of them are the same. So,
awesome. Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that there's a very humble people out there that are going to be able to help artists along the way. And with that, just as far as Christian hip hop, it has come a long way. And but there's still, of course, a divide between faith-based music and the mainstream hip hop. How do you personally navigate through music that's authentic to your faith, but also competitive sonically to what's out there on the mainstream market?
For sure, man. So I think Lecrae, back in the day, we were talking about this off screen. Lecrae actually introduced me to a lot of worldview studies. Guys like Francis Schaeffer, Nancy Pearcey, for example. And that really freed my mind a lot to like take this secular sacred divide out. And in doing that, now I'm like, nah, like, I'm called to be a light in the darkness. I'm not called to just be a light in church circles. And God uses that. I love his church. But for me, it was like, okay, how can I impact the world now? Or how can I impact culture with the gift that God has given me and placed in me? And it's the whole verse. We're gonna storm the gates of hell, right? It's like, where is darkness? I want to be a light in the middle of it. Like, I want to be right there in the epicenter of culture, screaming out Jesus at the top of my lungs, right? And so, I think it started a lot immaturely in studying and like theologically sorting out what I believe, why I believe it, that type of stuff, and then giving me the confidence to make humongous records to and for the glory of God. And that influenced everything in songwriting and production, not saying things like, oh, this sounds too worldly, or oh, this is not from God because it's hip hop, or like those type of things, right? No, like the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And people's hearts are evil. We corrupt things, right? God gave us music to use for his glory. And so just having that type of mindset and that type of freedom, God was able to come in and just give us these songs from heaven, right, over the years, which he does for all Christian artists, obviously. But yeah, it's amazing what he's done over the years. It's crazy. Never in my wildest dreams would I imagine all the places he's taken me, how far the music's gone. It's amazing to me. So humbling as well.
And God's definitely richly blessed you and your family for sure, as far as that goes, and being involved in the industry for over a decade now. But with that, if there was something that you know now that you could have known when you first started, what would it be? Mainly directed towards any of the aspiring artists that are out there maybe watching this today.
I'll say my deepest wounds come from meeting some of the artists that I looked up to. And I would never name drop or anything like that. But I say that to say you must have character. You must really, if you're going to take like influencing the world seriously and take up that cross, as Jesus said, you must have a system in place. You have to be accountable. You have to have mentors around you to weather the storms. Because if you start making an impact for the kingdom of God, you start building his kingdom, as we're talking about on this YouTube channel, you got a target on your back. And the enemy does not like that. And he's coming for you one way or the other. And, I would say I'm big on character because I've never tried to manufacture an image. Like anytime people meet me, my prayer is that, hey, what you see out there in the world, it's me. It's just me. I'm a son to my Father in heaven. I teach my kids this identity. I'll ask my kids if which hopefully I won't tear up, but I'll ask my kids if they have a rough day in school, right? People say stuff out of their own hurt and they'll come home sad. And at some point, obviously I try to comfort them and have empathy towards them. But at some point I'll ask the question, who are you? Which doesn't really make sense at the time. It's like, why would you ask me who I am, Dad? I'm like hurt because this person, I'm mad. He said this, like, and it's like, no, who are you? And they'll be like, I'm God's son or I'm God's daughter. And I'll be like, yeah. So what does that mean? And a lot of times they won't answer because they're frustrated. So I'll be like, it means that you're fully loved and fully accepted. And then I'll be like, so are you free? And they'll be usually they'll have a little smile on their face and they'll be like, yeah, Daddy, I'm free. And I'm like, yeah, because your identity is not tied to what they said in their hurt. It's tied to a God who loves you unconditionally and who's never going to leave or forsake you, right? And so you have to know who you are. You have to be well grounded and have a strong foundation. So I'll give you an example. Caden Jordan, I've been mentoring him since 13, 14. I let him open for me at Edgewater Children's Ranch. It was like all these kids were there and like it wasn't a huge event. I meet him. He looks like Justin Bieber. I'm like, who is this guy? His dad's there. And I'm like, he raps for me real quick. And I'm like, yo, you want to open? And bro, he kills the stage. Like he brought that 14-year-old energy or whatever. And I'm like, I get on the mic and I'm like, I just want to communicate now. I'm not going to do that. I'm a dad and I'm tired, y'all. It's like, so like he was the headliner. Okay. But with Caden, when I was mentoring him for 2 years, we didn't talk about music. I didn't want to talk about music. All we talked about is identity and purpose. Who are you and what has God asked you to do? And how are you going to be faithful to do that? So we talked about character. We talked about those type of things for 2 years. And then we started to talk about music because I know I've seen it too many times. You know, someone starts popping off and then the enemy leads them astray because they had no foundational faith. And even if you do, it's hard. Like my faith has been rocked so many times. And if I didn't have mentors around me who were older in the faith, who have weathered those storms, if I didn't have accountability, that would be me. I'd be gone. Like I'm human, right? So I would say focus on the why. God is more concerned with why you do what you do than what you actually do. The motive, in other words. Are you getting into Christian hip hop to build your little kingdom, become famous, get money? What's the motive, in other words? And you know, if your motive is to truly like impact a generation and to love Jesus, bro, God's got you. Like watch him open doors. Just wait. Like be faithful in the little. And that's the last thing I'll say is there's no competition. The competition is me. It's me versus me. Nobody can do what God has asked me to do, and nobody can do what God has called you and asked you to do. You have a mission from God, and your single focus is to be faithful to accomplish the work that He gave you and that He planned beforehand. And that's actually how you glorify God. John 17:4. Jesus says, I have glorified my Father by accomplishing the work which you gave me to do, right? So we bring glory to God in the same way Jesus brought glory to God by going to the cross to take the sins of the world upon himself, to lay down his life for the good and benefit of others, right? And show the world what true love actually is. That it's self-sacrificial in nature. In the same way, we are to be faithful to what God has asked us to do, to be and to do, and to use those gifts to advance not our kingdom, but His kingdom, not our own glory, but His glory in the earth. So yeah, I would say make sure your core group of people actually loves Jesus, and the rest, let it be.
Right? Awesome. Well, I mean, I don't know what to follow up, but no, actually I do. So another thing we like to do here at Kingdom Builder, of course, is to help get the word out about those artists that might not be so well known, because there's so much talent out there. And you know this very well, and as do I. With the state of Christian hip hop or even Christian music in general, are there any particular artists you think people should look out for and pay attention to that maybe could use a little extra support?
Caden Jordan, watch out for this, man. I'm not just saying that because I've mentored him. He's better than me. He's more talented than me. Like this man can sing, he can rap. Caden Jordan is he did 100 songs last year. And I think that speaks. I can't teach work ethic. Yeah. You either are passionate about it and you put the work in, or you don't. And when he did that, he leveled up in so many different ways. Like his songwriting, I'm like asking him, for feedback on the stuff I'm writing, and I've been doing this way longer. He has such a passion for the music. And then, as I mentioned, like his energy has not turned down at all. He has turned up. Right? His energy is crazy. He has the stage presence, if we're talking about concerts, but more importantly, he has the heart. And I'm big on that, man. Just having the right heart and doing it for the right reasons. And he definitely has that. I've seen it behind scenes. So look out for Caden Jordan, y'all. Remember the name. He's amazing.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Well, I know you've dropped a lot of bits of advice and inspiration for our audience out there. But if there's something else for anyone watching or listening that you want them to take away from our discussion today or our conversation, what would that be?
I would say that there's rest in Jesus. this world is crazy a lot of times, and we go through ups and downs, the ebb and flow in life. We go through times of suffering. I've been through a lot of very hard circumstances. We lose loved ones, the whole nine, right? And we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so I think having that relationship with God is central to just not only withstanding storms, but literally thriving in the middle of it. God is a God who works all things together for our good. And we talked about this a little bit, but that all things also includes the worst of the worst, the times we want to give up, the times we, theologians refer it to the dark night of the soul, right? The times where we're like, where are you, God? Like, what are you doing? His felt presence isn't there. You're questioning life. Like, man, he's there every step of the way. And he's using even the darkest of times to make us more like his son, Jesus. And so, yeah, I would say look to him and truly like open up your heart to him. That word believe in John 3:16, as we mentioned, means surrender. And the surrender, I used to think about surrender as like a one-time deal. In Christianity, the culture, we have this culture that's like an altar call culture, right? Come to Jesus at this specific moment. And I look at that word much differently. I think, yes, we might have come to Jesus that one moment, and that I don't want to downplay that. I had that one moment, and my whole life was flipped upside down, right? But we come to Jesus every day. It's a daily walk with God where we yield our will to him in our life. Jesus talked about abiding in John chapter 15. And abide means to remain in close fellowship or remain in union with one. And that is what Christianity is all about. It's not a do better religion. In fact, it says, not by might nor by strength, but by the power of my spirit, says the Lord, right? So Paul says, I die daily, right? So it's in dying to self or yielding our lives to Christ that we find fulfillment. And we're not looking for, like, I'm not looking for the next number one hit as if it's going to make me happy. Like, I had a number one hit on radio and it was gone in 6 weeks. I was able to enjoy it because it wasn't the main thing. I was like, this is crazy. I don't have a budget. Like, what is happening, Lord? Right? And who am I? Like, I'm this guy that came out of nowhere. Like, what? Like, I'm up against the Toby Macs and all these people that are on these huge labels. And boom, God gives me a number one single. It was number one for 6 weeks. Wow. It wasn't the main thing. Right. And so I was genuinely, Jesus said, my food is to do the will of him who sent me. I was genuinely enjoying it. Why? Because my life is swallowed up in God's will. Not that I do it perfect. None of us do. But in other words, back to the rest thing, I think there's such a power in everything we long for in life. Isn't found in this world. It's found in what God originally intended and created us for, which is fellowship with himself. And so if we have that and we have genuine believers around us that are living lives laid down, we have everything we need. Like, if I get another one, I hope Let It Be goes number one. Don't get me wrong, people. Yeah. But if it doesn't, I'm not heartbroken. I'm fine because I have Jesus and he's enough, right? And so, I would just encourage anyone, like, he's real. It's not like some distant religion. You don't have to do anything to come to Jesus. No, he did everything for you on that cross. And there's a rest, there's a peace that surpasses our understanding when we have a relationship with him. And there's genuine fulfillment in life to where we're not grasping for the next, thing on earth to make us happy and satisfy us. Like, bro, this earth is not big enough to satisfy the thirst of our soul. It's just not. So even Drake has said, that he's not satisfied. People, celebrities, right, where they have the the world at their fingertips, or you could quote Song or Solomon and Ecclesiastics, right? He says he was like the wisest, richest person ever. And at the end of Ecclesiastics, he says, hey, fear God, all else is vanity, right? In other words, trust in God, worship him and him only, because that's why we were created, essentially. So I'm done.
Well, a couple more questions, then we'll be done.
I'm done rambling. I'm like, I need to stop.
We're good.
I don't know how long-winded I'm supposed to be.
I think we're good. So you did mention you've got this 10 song LP, long play, full album coming out.
Yes.
I don't know. I honestly don't remember the last time you've done that. So it's probably been a while.
It's been a while, man.
We won't get into too much detail because I'd love to have you back on again to kind of maybe go track by track, but give us a little glimpse of what to expect in this Let It Be album that's coming out.
Man, we're going to take it slow, but there's a lot of potentially like huge songs, right? We've at this point in my career, like I know what I'm capable of and I'm confident in what God has called me to do and also freedom, man. Like, so there's a little bit of everything on this album. So I have everything from like sync licensing type workout, gym culture type songs where I'm like, bro, I played sports my whole life. Like if you can't work out to some of this music, I have no idea what y'all are doing out there. Like it's in your face. The energy's there. It's cinematic hip hop, right? To really dial down like CCM type stuff. There's a song with Morgan Coblentz, which is Quentin's brother. That's very CCM type, worshipful, like almost spoken word type. And then we have the pop and hip hop joints with V Rose. So yeah, it's very diverse, but it's also very specific. It's dialed in at this point in my career, and I'm excited, man. I'm like, I've been filming content like all the time with my man Caden, and I'm very excited for the release. So yeah,
I'm excited to hear what it's about and to really just to get deep into it and see your heart poured out in the lyrics there.
Yes,
so
sir.
For those who want to support you, connect with you, where can we find that information?
So at Roy Tosh Music is all my social media. ROY Tosh, TOSH Music, spelled like music. That's it.
Yeah, not with a Q or a
no
Q's. No, all about that branding, right?
SIC. Yes. Hey, for real though. We literally, so that's one of the things we did initially when we had Roy Tosh. We didn't just do at Roy Tosh because some of those were taken. So we added music. So all the branding was consistent. So yeah, literally my YouTube is / Roy Tosh Music, Instagram, Roy Tosh Music, TikTok, Roy Tosh Music. Y'all get it. Just look, Google. It's out there. Right. We're here.
So before we close out, I did want to mention, and we won't talk about this now, but for those of you watching, you can keep an eye on it because I'm sure you'll would want to be involved, is that we are kind of starting a new series here where we're essentially an industry spotlight where we want to take professionals in the industry, artists, other behind the scenes people, and give and educate future artists, potential artists, even artists that might already be out there that, hey, maybe don't know certain aspects of it. I know you and I had a conversation where you're really into the sync licensing thing. So
yes,
we'll probably hopefully have a conversation about that in the future on another video, but just keep that in mind. Again, it's been a pleasure having you on Kingdom Builder there. If you like this video, obviously make sure you go to Roy Tosh Music, all social medias, give him a like, thumbs up, subscribe to his channels, all those buttons, whatever they do. Do the same for us, please. We appreciate it. Share the video, share the interview, and of course, leave us a comment. But thank you so much for joining us on Kingdom Builder. Thank you for watching, and we hope you continue building the kingdom and have a great rest of your day.